there's anybody that I have followed, admired, and read, and a guy who just knocks it down and has had no sleep this week, maybe in the last month, it's Mike Farrell from Rivals.com, one of the national recruiting guys. Mike, welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Congratulations on everything that you guys have done.
Thanks. It's been a busy couple days, and we're still chasing something. I was actually just on the phone with Cyrus Quandro's head coach, and we still got a couple guys to chase out there, but it's almost wrapped up.
Yeah, and it sounds like ESPN, they're trying to build an announcement on a couple of guys, and some of the guys may be waiting because they wanted their own, I don't know, day. Is that the way it's playing out?
Well, I mean, the number one player in the country, Jadeveon Clowney, is going to do it on his own day, on his birthday, and that'll be televised, I'm sure, on February 14th. But Cyrus Quandro from DeMatha in Maryland actually went on ESPN yesterday and announced for Auburn, but then he got cold feet and didn't send his letter in, so now he's deciding between Auburn and Alabama, and that's sort of the drama we're dealing with today and tomorrow. Hopefully this will be wrapped up by the weekend and he'll make a decision, but right now, he's kind of in limbo. Mike
Farrell, I guess, Everyday Cafe Hotline from Rivals.com, one of the national guys who does such a terrific job. Was that the story, Mike, where what was the story where the mother forged the letter of intent? Where did I hear
that? Was Floyd Raven out of Mississippi. She wanted him to go to Ole Miss. He wanted to go to Texas A&M. So she forged his name on the letter. They sent it in to Houston Nutt at Ole Miss, and give credit to Ole Miss's compliance department as well as Coach Nutt for realizing that was not Floyd Raven's signature on it. And, they contacted the school and they just said, if he doesn't want to be here, we don't want him here. We don't want to go to that extent to convince somebody. He's a defensive back that is heavily recruited, and they just didn't want to get in the middle of that. So, they got the real letter to Texas A&M, so he'd signed, sealed, and delivered to them this time. But that was the first I've heard of that. Yesterday we had, these are the firsts yesterday, ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Forged letter of intent.
Yeah.
Live animal as a prop for an announcement.
Yeah, the Georgia Bulldog, right?
Yeah, for the puppy, for Isaiah Crowell, who decided on Georgia over Alabama. And then a national television announcement for a school, and then changing your mind 5 minutes later. Rough day.
Mike, is signing day just getting a little bizarre each year? I mean, a little more bizarre each year? I mean, is it kind of growing that way?
It is, but it's bizarre every year. I mean, there was like 3 years ago, a kid flipped a coin to choose between schools, like literally, flipped a coin. After 2 years of schools just recruiting him and pitching and going flying to see him, and flips a coin and leaves up to chance. So, I mean, it's been crazy all along. My issue with it is that one day they should really spread it out over a week, because it's a year's worth of work, all culminating in like 12 hours, and there's just not enough time to really get into the good stories that are out there. Like, everything's overshadowed. Now you got the forged signature and the indecision overshadowing all the good stories that happened yesterday, and that's the shame of it.
Yeah, Mike Farrell, I guess, from Rivals.com, one of the great writers who follows this, and as I said, one of the hardest things in the world to do is follow signing day. We'll get into the schools and who won and who did really well, because I know Bama did and Florida State. And so, Mike, with that, I want to go back to what you said. You would like to see kind of a signing week so we could be a little more relaxed, not just for the media, but maybe for the kids and their decisions and all the press conferences?
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I'd like to see 2 signing weeks like basketball. I mean, basketball has 2 signing periods, and they last a week. And I think in football it would be great to have an early signing period, so kids, if they want to get it out of the way, say in December, and don't want to go through the madness of January and February and all the, coaches' calls and visits by the school and showing up at their door uninvited and stuff like that. They can do that by signing in December a binding letter of intent. So really there's no point for a coach to contact them. If a coach has nothing to gain from it, he's not going to call a kid. And if you signed a letter of intent, trust me, none of these kids who signed yesterday are getting phone calls from coaches anymore, because it's done. So they can shut it down if they want to in December, have that be a week-long period, and then do another week-long period in February. So you can spread it out more, have kids, they can do their announcements if they want to. They can have their fun with it. But you can just have more time. Like yesterday, it started at 6 a.m. It ended probably at midnight for us. It was a whirlwind of activity. And, now today, we'll do some newspaper, TV, radio stuff. By Monday, Super Bowl has occurred and nobody's paying attention to anything that's going on, and it's a whole year's worth of work. And it's not our work. I don't care about our work.
Sure.
I'm talking about the recruiters, the guys that have, blood, sweat, and tears that have recruited these kids. I just think they deserve a little bit more attention.
Mike Farrell, our guest, Everyday Cafe Hotline, the Rivals.com senior guy. I talked to Tom O'Brien today, who was just telling me about all the decommits and the commits, and he said he just really felt that signing day has become, I don't want to use the word sleazy, that's not the word he used, but he says it's just become, because a kid commits and he decommits, he'd like to see kids hold their commitment, and then that's the kind of character they need to carry to their schools, especially if they commit to a place that's where they need to go.
Perfect world. That would be a perfect world. And, he was able, when he was at Boston College for 10 years, they were able to recruit kids that held to those values for the most part. The funny thing is, though, Boston College was a victim of that. They had a decommitment Friday before signing day where a kid from Connecticut flipped to Florida at the last second after being committed to BC for years. But for the most part, the kids with the high academic standards and choosing the school for the right reason and looking beyond football and wanting a degree, those are the type of kids that you're not going to see change their mind or flip unless there's a good reason for it, like the coach gets fired or an assistant coach they really liked a lot, gets fired. But what it is now is it's a lot of kids without a lot of direction who are making their decisions based on the wrong thing. And they fall in love on every visit. There's a kid in North Carolina who committed to 3 different schools on 3 different visits, and we've had multiple kids this year who made their 3rd commitment yesterday. And
wow.
That just happens. That's the way it is. That's not us giving them the attention. I think it's just the state of recruiting these days where if a kid commits and signs early, he's not going to have that temptation in his face.
Yeah, Mike, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been following the recruiting side?
Since 99. I've been doing this.
How hard is it for you? Do you talk to parents too? Parents and kids and coaches?
Yeah, all of them. It's difficult, because there's so many kids to follow. When you cover one team, that is a dream. I used to do that back in the day, and you're covering just one team and one team's prospects. And then when you're covering a region, that's nice because then there's just a region of kids. But when you're covering the nation, it's crazy. Because you start off the morning with a kid in Alabama choosing Auburn, and then you move to a kid in Kentucky choosing USC, and then a kid in Ohio choosing USC, and then you move out to a kid in Maryland choosing Auburn, but then changing his mind, and then a sports signature down in Mississippi, and then a kid out in L.A. decommitting from USC and flipping to Oregon at the last second to finish out the day. And that's why I say one day of all of that. It'd be nice if that were spread out a little bit as well, just so that we could pay attention to all that stuff more than just 5 minutes and then on to the next.
It's like a Senate race or a gubernatorial election or a presidential election.
It is. Election day is also similar. Yeah, that's a good reference to it. It's like tax day as well. But the thing with tax day, you can file your taxes prior to April 15th. You can't sign a letter prior to the first Wednesday of February.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that gets me, is that they should really just sort of have an opportunity, for kids to sign their letter a little earlier.
Yeah, he is Mike Farrell from Rivals.com, does an outstanding job. We'll talk about the schools in a little bit. What were the heartwarming stories, or maybe one really, really good story from yesterday? Well,
I think I liked the fact that the number 2 player in the country is Curtis Grant. Okay, he's from Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Hermitage High School. He is the nicest kid you're ever going to talk to. There's no ego about him whatsoever. He is an absolute freak of nature as far as a football player. He doesn't want any pomp and circumstance. His press conference was televised on TV, but he didn't ask for that to happen. He was straight up and straightforward with all the schools that he liked. He narrowed his list down to 4 schools pretty early. He took his visits. He called all the coaches early in the week to let them know where he was going to go. He wasn't worried whether his decision was going to leak out. He showed up to his press conference wearing the colors of Ohio State, so it wasn't really a surprise that he was going to pick them. And he only had one hat in the box. It's not like he had 5 hats on the table, and he didn't pull out any props or anything like that. And he thanked every coach that gave him a Division I scholarship. Not one by one, but he was sure to thank everybody, from Richmond to Ohio State that gave him a scholarship opportunity to play in college football. And I just think, for the way he handled it is the way it should be handled. And, that's the type of kid that I'm proud to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Good story. Mike Farrell, a couple of more minutes. I know you're swamped. We appreciate you having you today. Florida State really tore it up, didn't they?
Yeah, number 2 in our rankings. Alabama finished number 1, and Florida State had a great year. Jimbo Fisher can recruit. He put together a tremendous staff. They finished strong. The big surprise of the day yesterday, I think, was Clemson finishing number 8. That finish doesn't match what they did on the field last year. And then the SEC, another story with Alabama 1, Georgia 5, LSU 6, Auburn 7, and then USC signing 29 kids because they appealed the sanctions of scholarship reductions, so they're taking as many as they can right now, and then next year and the year after they'll take super small classes.
Yeah. Close to home, Mike London made a little bit of impact too, kind of a top 20 class depending on what poll you see, but I know people around here close to home, they were pretty excited about what Mike London did.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, he beat the Hokies, and that's the first thing you got to do at UVA is beat the Hokies. He was ranked higher in our rankings, and I think most of the rankings, against Virginia Tech. He did a great job in state. He was able to finish yesterday with a strong finish with Darius Jennings from Maryland and Dominique Terrell from Manassas and Virginia. Start strong, finish strong. He's a great recruiter. He's from the area, and he's a guy who brings a lot of excitement to that program. And he's starting to get the athletes on the field that are going to allow them to win football games. One
more big question, Mike. How did Al Golden do at Miami?
Al did good. I mean, Al, obviously got in there late and had to put together a staff and meet a brand new set of kids. It's not like he was recruiting the same kids at Miami as he was at Temple. So this was just brand new. I'm Al Golden. I'm the head coach at Miami. Nice to meet you. You want to come here? Mm-hmm. But for all of that, it was tremendous. I mean, he finished 36th in the nation, which isn't like Miami, but with a transition, you got to expect that next year and beyond. He's a great recruiter. They're going to do very well.
You don't start calling juniors tonight, do you, Mike?
We broke a commitment today. 2012, kid from Florida committed to North Carolina today.
How about that?
Never stops. Never, ever.
No. Hey, you guys do a great job with the radio network. I know Bill. We've had Bill on the show. Great brand, and really congratulations on everything, Mike, and thanks for being a part of our show for a few minutes. And really, I know all that goes into it. It is not an easy thing, and you guys do an outstanding job.
All right, no problem. Thanks a lot.
All right, Mike. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Rivals.com.